Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I changed the setup a little bit on our meetings. I don't know if did it give you any trouble entering the meeting?
No, let me enter.
Okay. Yeah, before I think you had to put a passcode in, and I had a lot of feedback from people saying, "Why do we have to put passcodes in now? I don't know where the passcode is." So I switched it up to put you into the waiting room. So I wasn't sure because I just switched it like 2 minutes ago. So I wasn't sure if that would make a difference in getting in. So good. So hopefully you don't need a passcode now. You can just go into the waiting room. So we are Jamaica is not going to join us today. She's not feeling well, so she's got to see her doctor. So
Okay.
just the three of you this morning. How is everybody? How's your week been? Cold?
Yeah, cool. Yeah. I work in the homeless shelter here in Sarnia, so the cold really makes our workload go times 10.
Oh,
It's
wow, I bet.
intakes and that. So
That's really neat to know, Stephanie. So when you're doing the homeless shelter, is it a daytime thing or is it evening as well, like nighttime as well?
so I work both shelter locations are through the End of the Good Shepherd here in Sarnia. It's one's called the Lodge, and then we opened up another shelter called the Overflow Shelter, because of the high need of beds here in Sarnia.
Right.
So it just depends because I'm relief staff. My first placement through social service work was with the Inn of the Good Shepherd, and I got hired on. So it just depends on where they need me. Most of my shifts are evening shifts or night shifts. And it's doing like a lot of initial intake. We don't necessarily work with the clients with finding their needs and that. I usually just do the intakes, make sure they have everything throughout my shift, and then we have direct care workers that work with them to um, address what they need.
So the shelter itself, though, is it open through the night? It's an
Yeah,
overnight.
it's a
Yeah.
24-hour shelter. Yeah.
Okay. And so one of the things that CFUW has engaged with is making sure that people have a place to go, temperature related. And so I know in London, it said originally that 15 minus 15 was the temperature to open additional beds. And then I was looking at it and I thought I saw -5, but I didn't know if there's a temperature relationship to opening beds in Sarnia.
Yeah, so we just actually opened up a heart hub here in Sarnia that has like an area where most of our clients go during the day. When it drops to negative, I do believe 5 or lower,
Right.
we allow our clients to stay in shelter all day. We do have the means, if necessary, to add additional beds. We have up to, I think, at our other shelter, we have 45 beds, and at this bed, we have 35 beds, but we haven't got to that point yet
Oh,
of
okay.
having to add additional beds in each one.
Because there's a big push in some like it's a community led thing, but there's a big push to have people getting shelter at 0 degrees. So rather than the -5. And
Mm,
so that's something we could talk about because I feel like in London we could do better. We could, you know, 0 to me is pretty darn cold.
mhm.
-5 is pretty darn cold, and we're having some really super cold nights coming up. So making sure that there are shelter beds available,
Yeah,
or
it's
at least warming centers. At least warming centers.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we open up when the temperature drops. We consider our shelters warming centers, and we bring on extra staff from the county to cover those hours so that we ensure clients don't have to go out in the cold unless they have to.
Cool.
It's pretty heartbreaking. You see a lot of the clients struggling with frostbite, trench foot, hypothermia. It's pretty high pace, high risk job, but you gotta love what you do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're helping people, so I mean, how noble is that? That's beautiful. So I think that yeah, from an advocacy perspective, it's putting pressure on the governments, local governments to make sure that we meet those needs out of,
Mhm.
you know, not making sure that people get frostbite before they get a place to get out of
Right?
the cold.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I just wanted to go off on that tangent when I heard that.
Right.
So we are going to think about advocacy. You have the little advocacy toolkit I sent out, or the workshop, and hopefully you had a chance to look through that. I sent that out last week, and so what did you think of the advocacy workshop itself? Did you get any? Was it very helpful, Ashka? What do you think?
I think it was helpful to know what advocacy is because it was very new concept for me. And I looked into it. I don't even remember right now because I looked at it in the last week and then I researched about a lot of things for the our workshop that we are going to do.
Yep. Yep. Good.
So I just had one question. Are we going to do advocacy and the all the combined researches we are doing? Are we going to combine that, or uh, we are just going to do workshop separately and not doing the advocacy? I was a little bit confused about that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's first of all, I'm going to start recording because I told Chimanka that I would send her the recording. So if you guys are okay with that, I'll throw the recording on, and then I can
Recording in progress.
and then she can see what the discussion is. So I'll just repeat, Ashka, that you're asking about whether we're going to do like 4 separate projects, or whether we're all going to um, gear our project to advocacy. So everybody's going to investigate their own topic, unless people want to combine, and that's fine too. But if you wanted to stick with your own topic that we talked about last week, then we would, I think, do one workshop, and so you would do your own research. You would find out the pluses and the minuses, and so using the shelters and the temperature and all of that, we just had that little discussion here as a topic. I think that would be a great example of how you could, so you would do your investigation into how people react to the cold, what kinds of things they need, homeless people for homeless shelters, and temperature related, and why, you would want to make the argument of why you would want to get people out of the cold at 0 degrees temperature as opposed to -5 or -15, and the benefit to the people, the benefit to the community, and how it's a more humane way to go, blah, blah, blah. So you would do your research into your topic. You would get all of your, what it's all about, so that you could explain it completely. And then you would have the portion of the workshop to present that. And you would be advocating for change. You would be advocating for a specific thing. So you would talk about your particular topic from an advocacy perspective. And what you're doing then is, even though the whole workshop is about how to be an advocate, you're showing advocacy about, pardon me, in this case, shelters and temperature related relief from the cold. So that would be my topic within the workshop. Is that making sense now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I think we can still have you working on your own passionate piece, part, and then the research is relevant to you, and everything you're going to present is relevant, but you're talking about it as how to make change, how to change the world, if you will, how to change London, or how to change the people who are, you know, joining us and listening to the workshop. And so it could just be, and the workshop could be a variety of different things. You could have little exercises to do for people. You know, maybe it's a little quiz or something that the people would do, and you know, talking about temperature related shelters and stuff like that. It could be, you know, it could even be, what do you call it? A privilege walk where people assess their privileges, and then, you know, it relates into your topic. And so it could be like, have you ever gone without dinner? Have you ever been hungry? Have you ever spent a night where you didn't have a place to stay? Have you ever, you know, those kinds of things. Have you ever been insecure about, um, where you are, or felt threatened, felt vulnerable? You know, like there are lots of privilege walks out there. You don't have to make it up. You can actually, borrow the stuff from some that are already ongoing. Just pick one that sort of relates to your topic or feels right for your audience. I would suggest that we coordinate that, because we don't want everybody doing a privilege walk in the same workshop, because that would be overdone. But if you all felt that a privilege walk would help your topic, we could incorporate that in as something that everybody does, and then you could refer to it in your topic. So it might be helpful. I find them very helpful. Bystander intervention might be something that you might want to engage. And again, we could do a little piece in the workshop about bystander intervention, because maybe it would help with your piece about, your advocacy piece about why you would want someone to understand bystander intervention. So those are just a couple of tools that could be worked into the workshop that might help, your particular topic. Okay. All right. So yeah, Kate, how did you find the process so far? Mhm. Okay, so that sounds like you've got a bit of a start there. What you might want to do is look at the big picture first. What is Canada's immigration um, law? What's the immigration status? Like statistics, how many people are admitted to Canada? How many of those people are students? So Stats Canada might have some stats, and I would say maybe show the change. What was it 5 years ago or 2 years ago? And then with this new change that's happened, and talk about the new change that happened about immigration changed in, I think it was last year or the year before. And what were those number changes? I think that's very, very helpful to an audience to see that big picture and from Canada. And then maybe look at what are the supports that we have. So London and Middlesex has an immigration partnership. What is that? Where do we have so we have all are welcome here. So we have limitations that the government has put in place, and then we have some supports that London is putting in place, and then we have the student picture that you're trying to show. And so in doing that research, going big picture down to the student picture, you might find more data, more research. So Stats Canada is one good place to go to for your numbers. And I would look at the recent changes. There's all kinds of articles about that recent changes to the immigration laws. And then yeah, and try to do that background stuff first, maybe. Okay. And Ashka, just before I let you go, then you said you did quite a bit of research into your topic.
Yes.
And how are you finding the information?
So I researched about social media addiction and body image researches which are done before. I found plenty of them. Then I focused on Canadian statistic and researches. So I made list of 7 combined primary sources to prove the statistics risk role of social media in teenagers, body image concerns, mental health, and also how reducing social media proved significant improvement in women's body image. And the sources I have collected are Statistic Canada, Canadian Mental Health Association, American Psychological Association, National Institute of Health, and the Media Smart, and there are plenty of them.
And so, just on your topic, social media is kind of an old topic. It's been around for a while. There's been a lot said about it. But the newest topic that's really getting a lot of attention is AI. And I think AI really impacts our social media. And because it's starting, all of these bots are starting to shoot information at us. If I go onto a website, all of a sudden I'm starting to get all kinds of information. So if I have a concern about my body image, and I'm using social media, I think if there's enough information, if you've got the time, add in the AI component. How is that now changing the picture in social media? And what do we need to look out for from the AI perspective? And here's the thinking that I've had about AI for quite some time. AI is based on algorithms. It's based on past practices. So basically, it's trying to predict what will people do tomorrow, or what will you do? What would be your interest based on a whole bunch of information from the past. But in the past, we have had a very skewed system. We've had these pressures on women to look a certain way, use makeup and all of that, and be a certain body type, not to mention the fact. So I think that we have a skewed system in the sense of patriarchy, in the sense of male preference, and female voices not being heard, female voices being skewed to fit a certain type. And so if you have a skewed system, a system that has been, twisted out of place, and then you're basing all of your future behavior on that, you're going to continue to have a system that's biased. You're going to continue to have a system that discriminates. And so from that, from that perspective, like I know AI is going to help us in many, many ways, but it's also going to keep us in a rut. It's also going to keep us in this discriminatory, biased, and a lot of it's unconscious bias, but still those biases are going to continue to be perpetuated if we don't break the mold, if we don't change the way AI is doing things and make sure that, that's my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
And it's nice. It would be interesting to see what's supported out there in the
Yeah, of course, I'll definitely look into it. And if I find something, I'll add into my list
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I think your audience will be really interested in hearing
Yes, yes,
the AI twist in there.
for sure.
Awesome.
I'll look into it.
Okay, perfect. Stephanie. Oh, you're on mute.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you how did you receive the workshop, and then how did that play into your research?
So I could go multiple different ways on things. Like again, I was confused on, are we doing this as a collective or are they 4 different workshops with each topic?
Yeah, so I think if we said that we have an hour and a half workshop, and your part is going to be, I don't know, what did we say, 20 minutes?
Mhm.
So you're going to prepare your topic to fit that 20 minutes. You're going to do all your research and do your presentation, build in any little workshop pieces, interactive pieces that you want in that 20 minutes. But overall, your theme is going to be advocating for your topic. So I think you were going to do Indigenous women.
Yeah, so since I'm doing my own topic, I would like to do advocating for Indigenous women experiencing homelessness. Just off the top of my head, just focusing on upholding housing as a human right, addressing systematic gender violence and implementing cultural appropriate trauma-informed and Indigenous-led solutions within our shelter structures. Based on, I don't know if you wanted it to be about the London area or because it is a London organization. Or
Could be, I would
or
say,
can I do it on Sarnia area because it's a lack of services I see in the area. We have no Indigenous shelters, like London's way ahead of the game within our advocating for Indigenous people with like at LOSA and Nookiqua and I forget what the other one, Jawana Shelter on Wellington Street. We have none of that in Sarnia. Our beds for women are maybe 1-to-5 ratio towards males within our shelter systems, and it's just heartbreaking because it's not enough beds for our women that are out in the streets.
so there's a couple of challenges you're going to have. So one is making sure that your audience, and I think everybody should be doing this, making sure that your audience has the awareness, has the knowledge. So step one is to bring your audience up to speed in the topic that you're going to talk about. So making sure that they understand the background, the terminology, and that. I love that you could, off the top of your head, quote what London has and Sarnia doesn't have. That, I think, because you're going to probably have a mostly London audience, I think that's important. So even though, yes, go ahead and talk about Sarnia's needs, but if you can add in a comparison to London,
Oh, yeah, kinda like a compare and contrast
That
slides
would be
within my
perfect.
president? Okay,
That would bring in the London, you would bring them up to speed and knowledge. A lot of people don't know that we have the Indigenous organizations here, and so they'd be surprised to see that we do actually have a few. We're not perfect either here in London, so but if you're using those as goals or best practices kind of thing, that Sarnia needs to pull up their socks because, you know, they could be doing this or that.
'cause
But
even, like, when like, even going back to our, warming stations, a lot of the warming stations are even in London area, like the Men's Arc Mission, they open up churches or partner with them, and a lot of those warming station beds are for male population, and it's like it's so heartbreaking, you, like, wanna throw your hands up in the air and be like, "Well, women are out in the streets too," like
yeah, and you know, there's also stats that you can find. I know London has them. I hope Sarnia has them about the ratio of men to women on the streets.
mm,
And so that would help to support. So if are they basing it 1 in 5 men to women because the overall homeless ratio is 1 to 5, or is that skewed? Is that, you know, problematic?
yeah,
So those kinds of bigger stats would also be helpful. I know London keeps track of, I think we have over 2,000 people who are homeless, who are registered
yeah,
homeless. And so those are good stats to be able
yeah.
to give your audience.
So I was, like, thinking, like, even just like, touching base on that and then just kinda starting off with icebreakers on, um I know there's, like, interactive presentation things that you can, do, like, where you put, like, one word in and it makes, like, a graffiti of different words from the audience, put it
Uh,
into a do you know which,
Yeah,
icebreaker I mean?
a Wordle. Yeah,
Yeah,
it used to be called a Wordle, where everybody you can submit a word and you put
yeah.
it in, and then it creates this little collage of words.
Yeah, like, just simple icebreakers throughout my, presentation that's quick and effective, and then I can start going into the presentation,
Sure, that's fun too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it lightens the mood a little bit. So, um, yeah, so think about those kinds of things. We've got some time,
okay.
and think about your timing.
Yeah. And then as well, so it's just like giving us a 20-minute max as well. Did you need like oh what is it called? Like a proposal and a written email to you that kind of has our resources on it and
Yeah,
um
eventually, yeah, for sure.
okay,
I want to see, so your final deliverable to me would be your write-up, how
okay,
the workshop is gonna run. So your agenda, your all the working parts of the process, all of your research. And it'd be even nice if you're gonna do slides, and, so if you're gonna create some slides, it'd be nice to coordinate it so it doesn't look like 4 different sessions, like if we've got a background slide that we can all use kind of thing and put your information on. And then your speaker notes. And so that's really important. What would you say to each slide? What are the notes you're going to have? You can
okay,
put them right into the PowerPoint. And so that, say, for instance, 2 years down the road, I want to deliver that whole workshop again. I've got all the speaker notes. I've got all the research that you've done. And so I could actually deliver it. I could facilitate it because you've included everything in the PowerPoint presentation.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then, of course, we would record your session when you do it. And then we'd have that recording as something maybe on our website or something that we could run at intervals. Okay.
all right.
All right. Okay. So I think that we are on the right track. I think that you've got your work cut out for you. What questions do you have for me now? So for this next today and tomorrow, your work cut out is to, I would say, do your outline of how you want your 20 minutes to go. And then if you do want an interactive piece in there, figure out maybe what that is. And then do your high level research that you're going to explain to the group. This is what the problem is. You're going to educate your audience about your particular topic with your statistics, with your overall high level, and then get into the nitty gritty of how you want to make what we need to do to change it. What are the needs? What are the asks? And then figure out how your audience can interact in there if they can. Okay, Kate, is that okay? Are you?
Yes.
I didn't want to go over it too fast. Oh, good question. Great question. If we look, I sometimes like to do that. Let's work backwards. So you guys are finished in March sometime, I believe, is it? Or do you go right to April? You go to April. So technically we could pick the end of March. I don't want to get into your exam times. And I know that you have a break week in there, I think. February. Do you have a slack week in February? Reading week?
Yeah, we do. I think we do.
Usually around Family Day. Usually it's the 16th to the 20th in the Family Day week. Somewhere there, either the week before or the week after. I think it's the 16th to the 20th, but you guys can check that. So you'll have a down week, and but we've got lots of weeks to work on this. If we say that we want to do the presentation, maybe Tuesday, March, or no, we'd want to do it on the Thursday. Usually evening is better for your audience. So we'd have to figure out what evening is going to work for you guys, because if you have jobs or you have things that you have to do, which evening could you manage? But let's say we make it the last week of March. Then you've still got a couple of weeks left with me for kind of the wrap up. We can just meet and wrap things up, but I know you'll be busy with exams and finishing up your coursework. So I don't want to interfere with that. Does that sound about right?
Yes. So
Okay.
should we start making the presentation slide and for you to review?
No, I think the slides can wait a bit. Let's get the research done. Let's get the preliminary stuff done. If you're just going to do a 1-page sheet of your agenda, we can review that next week. And, and you're going to be tweaking it as you go. As you find more information and stuff, you'll maybe figure out what kind of interactive event or thing you want to do with your audience. It's kind of nice sometimes to do a little survey at the beginning, and because you're going to be bringing up, hopefully, the awareness of the group. Sometimes it's kind of nice to put in a little survey in the beginning and then do the survey again at the end, so that you can kind of find out where their knowledge level is. How much do you know about Indigenous women, homeless Indigenous women? And so you maybe want to have a couple of specific questions. What is the immigration rate in Canada currently, or something like that, and see what kinds of answers they give. Or it could just be assessing, what do you feel your knowledge level is about X, about whatever the topic is, and see what they say. Little knowledge, some knowledge, not much, very knowledgeable, or that kind of thing. Sometimes that's kind of an interesting way to start and end the meeting. So you guys can decide if you want to do that. Anything else?
Um,
I'm sure we'll
No.
have lots of questions next week once you start getting into your topics.
Okay.
Okay. Email me if you have any questions in the meantime, but otherwise we do have lots of time to work on this. So we've got, you know, a few, don't try to rush it. Make sure you do your deep dive. The research is the most important piece. Then we'll, if we have a couple of weeks to put the PowerPoint together sometime in February or even early March. Oh yeah, March. We've got all of March. So we can put the PowerPoint together in March. It goes pretty quickly. Yeah, and if you come across any little links to surveys or like if we were going to do the privilege walk or something like that, if you have a privilege walk link that you want to include where we can put it in and the audience can go to a different site and do the privilege walk, that's something you can keep track of.
Yeah, those are they're very eye-opening and enlightening. We did some in our social work program and yeah, it's very enlightening for some, and then it's very emotional too as well when people do it. And
Yeah, and
no
it's
matter what walk of life you come through, they are very educational and eye-opening.
yeah, and important, I think, to assess that. And so many people have never heard of them and never done them. So I think that's a worthwhile thing if we can fit it in. So
Yeah.
awesome. All right, guys. Well, I think that's everything. I'm going to stop this recording if I can figure out where that is. It's always there we go. Stop the recording. You want to stop the recording? Yes.
Recording stopped.
There we go. Okay. All right. So we will pick this up. If you want to look back on this, I can send this recording out to everybody. Otherwise, yeah. Okay. I'll send it out to everyone. And then next week, hopefully we are coming back with some research. Okay. All right. Have a good couple of days. Happy researching.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.